Every plant that has a flower that you can see depends on insects to pollinate them. And the most important insects are bees. But there's one species in particular that's used in agriculture for pollination, and that's the honeybee, the western honeybee. We really need honeybees. The winter of 2006 to 2007, so more than 10 years ago now, there was a huge die-off in the US of bee colonies, and it wasn't clear why. A consortium of people around the US got interested in determining whether there was a new disease agent, like a pathogen that might have been introduced that was suddenly wiping out the bees, and we could use sequencing to try to figure out what it was. To make a long story short, there was no single new pathogen. That did not turn out to be the case. But by happenstance, we realized, there's this set of bacteria that live in every single bee. And we had samples from before the colony collapse, from all over the world. So it turns out that many species, basically all animal species, including insects, have bacteria that live in them or on them and that are sort of part of their microbiome, but they hadn't been studied very much in the past. So they've been this kind of black box. We could use microscopy. We could see, yes, there's some organisms there, but we couldn't do anything else. We just knew they were there, basically, and people would speculate about what they did. All kinds of things that are going on actually maybe can be explained better once we look at this sort of hidden dimension that's been hidden to humans for all of history. No one's ever been able to study it. So now suddenly we have the tools where we can basically through molecular sequencing and understand what's there and when it's changing and what genes are there and what they're doing. And so suddenly there's this whole kind of hidden part that really is completely undiscovered. We now know that it does a lot of things for the bee. It helps it to digest food. It helps it protect against pathogens and so on. So we've been focused on that aspect. How does the microbiome enhance the health or affect the health of the host? And that sort of opens up sort of a broader arena of possible things that could affect the bees, right? Because it's not just things that affect the bee directly and cause it to die, like a poison to the bee. It's something that might disrupt the microbiome, and then over time the bee is more susceptible or has poorer nutrition and dies at a greater rate. What we found, for example, is some chemicals that disrupt the microbiome that might be used in agriculture, even though that chemical doesn't immediately kill the bee and it's not a toxin directly, say, to the bee. It disrupts the microbiome, and then over a little bit more extended period, that bee is susceptible to a disease and then it dies. Some of the declines we see could be due to this kind of bigger web, that the microorganisms are part of this big web that's keeping everything going. We can't see them, but actually they're important. And so when we do things that disrupt those, that has these consequences. There's these little mites called varroa mites, and they're one of the worst problems with bees right now. And beekeepers are grappling with how to control them. And these mites feed on the blood of the bee. A STAR graduate student here, Sean Leonard, started some work. We had the bacteria in culture, we could grow them, and he started the very difficult work of developing genetic tools for these organisms so that we could add genes to them and change their capabilities, and then put them back in bees and see what they can do. We put in a molecule that makes the mite attack its own self and die. We've shown that bees that have these modified symbionts designed to target the mite, that the mites die at a higher rate when they're on those bees. One possibility is that the things that are hurting the honeybee hives, are actually affecting insects more broadly. It's just the honeybees are the ones that, are basically domesticated, that we see when the hive dies. About the last 3 years or so, there's a lot of evidence that all insects are declining, which is extremely alarming because it kind of means there's big problems in ecosystems generally. Possibly the declines in honeybee colonies are kind of just one little echo of this broader thing that's happening to insects generally. In my earlier life, I had really liked insects and plants. I mean, as a little kid, I was like the one who liked all that stuff. And I didn't think of it as an occupation at all. That was not anything anyone in my family did or anything close. I'm a member of a large family, the third of 8 children. And most of us went to University of Texas. But I came here, I took class, and then I got to know some graduate students and started doing research, was working closely with one graduate student, and that got me interested, and I asked them where to apply to graduate school, and they gave me advice, and so I just took whatever they said and did it. There's a lot of studies on bees. I mean, their behavior and how they learn, how they navigate, and then they're actually really important in the world. So I, basically was already interested, and then when this new colony collapsed and there were these new things to study about them, I just decided, this is probably worth doing. And a lot of things like you can study, but people have done it for a long time, so you're probably not going to find anything all that new because it's been looked at by smart people for a long time. So I figure that's probably less promising than something that really is unlooked at so far.